Hi, this is New Time on Silkway TV channel. We introduce you with the most visible news and important events that happen throughout this week in Kazakhstan and Central Asia. More details on politics, economy, social and cultural life with opinions from the most recognizable experts of Kazakhstan and world. I'm Ainura Mangali and this is what you'll see today. A friendship that will last. Kazakhstan and France signed a number of strategic agreements during first ever visit of Emmanuel Macron to Astana. Turkic world, economy and common historical heritage. What was an agenda of the official visit of Prime Minister of Hungary to Kazakhstan? New Time asked the head of Hungarian Foreign Ministry. Turkic integration. The leaders of the OTS member states have arrived to Kazakh capital. What is the role of this organization in international arena? This week in Kazakhstan was very busy. World leaders attended the Kazakh capital, one after another. Historical experts called to the first ever visit of the French leader Emmanuel Macron to the biggest Central Asian economy. If shortly, 6 new key cooperation agreements were signed as a result. Kassym-Jomart Tokayev greeted his French counterpart on the first day of November in Astana. According to the head of state, special attention was paid to expanding and interaction in the areas of trade, economy and investment. The parties agreed on the joint construction of wind power plants with a capacity of 1 gigawatt. New agreements were signed on the supply of food and mouth disease vaccine, on the establishment of a French agency group and the opening of French schools in Kazakhstan. It's worth noting that this year Kazakhstan and France celebrate 15 years of strategic partnership.
Today's difficult geopolitical and geoeconomic situation makes it especially relevant. A joint declaration of intent on cooperation on strategic minerals was signed between Kazakhstan and France. As you have seen, we have also reached agreements with companies Ingelheim, Total Energies, Alstom. These agreements will be beneficial for both countries. The role and geopolitical location of your country, its size are very important. That's why we discuss our economic cooperation. This is confirmed by the agreement signed this morning. You, Mr. President, recall the importance of enterprises that are already present in Kazakhstan. This is a long-term partnership of French enterprises in the fields of trade and energy. Several French companies have been operating here for a very long time. We would like to strengthen the presence of our companies in other areas.
New agreements are a logical result of last year's visit of the President of Kazakhstan to the Elysee Palace. During this visit, parties paid special attention to rare earth metals, especially uranium. Kazakhstan, as the global leader of its production, is an influential player for France. Kazatomprom and the French company Framatome signed an agreement to develop cooperation in the field of the nuclear fuel cycle. Moreover, as Kazakh Minister of Energy stated, another French company named EDF was included in the short list of potential vendors for the construction of nuclear power plant in Kazakhstan. Important negotiations after a bilateral meeting in Akorda continued at the joint Kazakh-French Business Forum. The parties signed about 20 agreements worth almost $1.5 billion. The meeting, with the participation of 2 presidents, was attended by 80 CEOs of the largest French corporations. And it's not surprising, France is one of the 5 main investors to the Kazakh economy. Contracts were signed in the fields of medicine, agriculture and energy. The geopolitical situation in the world has forced many countries to reconsider logistics routes, and here the Trans-Caspian corridor has again proven its significant role. France also expressed its readiness to invest in the production of railway infrastructure.
We invite French companies to join this win-win partnership, reflecting a synergy of resources and expertise. It's not only the shortest, but also the most viable route to secure supply chains between Europe and Asia. In anticipation of increasing volumes, we are actively working with our partners to modernize infrastructure with an annual goal of 10 million tons of cargo. Now it is important to link these efforts with the Trans-European Transport Network and the European Union Global Gateway Initiative.
This day was exciting not only for businessmen but also for students. French President Emmanuel Macron visited the Maksud Norikbayev University to give his public lecture. In his opening remarks, French leader shared very important personal thoughts on the global geopolitics. He also explained his view on the importance of multilateral relations for France and Central Asia.
But I do believe that both of us have exactly the same issue in this world. How to preserve peace and stability for us, how to be sure or more sure that international law is more respected, and how to preserve or restore more sovereignty and independence. What does it mean? Meaning, even if you have a war and take a position, even if your neighborhood is destabilized, you can preserve what makes your economy function and provide what your fellow citizens want to live with.
Kazakhstan and Hungary, meanwhile, are set to boost mutual trade turnover to $1 billion in the near future. Kazakh President Kassym-Jomart Tokayev and Hungarian Prime Minister Viktor Orban earlier this week discussed the current state and the future prospects of relations between the two countries. Prior to the talks in both narrow and expanded formats, a welcoming ceremony was held at the Akorda presidential residency. The head of state emphasized that the visits will give an impetus to bilateral cooperation and expressed gratitude for accepting the invitation and participating in the 10th anniversary summit of the Organization of Turkic States. President Tokayev also highlighted the common historical roots of the two nations, which became the foundation for a mutually beneficial partnership.
We take pride in the fact that the descendants of the Kipchak tribes who migrated to Europe from the Torgai steppe in the Middle Ages now reside in Hungary. Kazakh-Hungarian integration is developing dynamically in all spheres thanks to our joint efforts. Dear Mr. Prime Minister, we're making an invaluable contribution in this regard. We're keen to further deepen our fraternal relations and foster mutually beneficial cooperation.
For his part, Hungarian Prime Minister Viktor Orban commended the level of partnership between the two countries, underscoring that Hungary has been and will remain a reliable strategic partner of Kazakhstan.
We have come to Kazakhstan to give a new impetus to relations between our countries. Hungary shares the closest historical ties with Kazakhstan in this region, and we are truly happy for your success. Kazakhstan is an outstanding country with remarkable achievements. Every time I come here, leaves a profound impression on me.
2023 became the most productive year in economic terms in the cooperation between Kazakhstan and Hungary. This is according to the Hungarian Minister of Foreign Affairs and Trade, Peter Szijjártó, as a result of a long strategic partnership between two countries. In an exclusive interview to The New Time, Mr. Szijjártó shared his view on the future of bilateral cooperation with Kazakhstan and further fortifying economic ties with Central Asia. Please watch the fragment of the interview. In an interview to our channel, you already said that Kazakhstan is a strategic partner of Hungary and the energy sector is one of prioritized in our cooperation. So how do you see the future of this particular cooperation, taking into account Kazakhstan's ambitions in developing nuclear power and renewables on its territory?
Well, we have signed the agreement on establishing strategic cooperation back in 2014. And I think it's not an exaggeration to say that this year has been the most successful among all 9 years since 2014. And I think it's a big success for both of us, given the fact that the world has been undergoing a really challenging period, including the political, economic, and security-related crises all over the world. And the fact that we are so successful this year is mainly based on energy. Mm-hmm. There are 5 points in our energy cooperation which make our relationship really successful. First of all, we are very happy that after 15 long years of preparatory works, the Hungarian oil company, which is the biggest Hungarian company, generally speaking, can start the exploitation of natural gas from the gas field called Rashkovsky, together with the Kazakh and the Chinese partners. This makes MOL the biggest Hungarian investor here in Kazakhstan after investing 200 million euros. And the share of MOL in the exploitation will be around 100 million cubic meters annually speaking. So this is very, very important for us. This can be a flagship of our cooperation. Exploitation will start in December. So finally, after finding the source in 2008, 15 years have gone, and now it is obvious that it was a good decision to stick to the project and not to give it up during that period of time. Second, our efforts to diversify our sources where we buy oil from became successful this year, as we have already bought 630,000 tons of oil from Kazakhstan on a mixed route, land route and maritime route. We are really glad that Kazakhstan is becoming an important partner of ours regarding the oil supply. And this fact shows as well that it has paid off to argue in favor of exempting the oil deliveries from the Caspian region to Europe from the EU sanctions imposed on Russia. The third is nuclear, definitely. I see a huge potential in our nuclear cooperation, given the fact that Hungary has been using nuclear power for more than 4 decades. And we have very positive experience with nuclear power. 1/3 of our electricity consumption has been covered by nuclear. Half of all the electricity which is produced in Hungary is produced by our nuclear power plant. And we are now building 2 new reactor blocks with which 70% of our electricity demand will be supplied by nuclear. You know, we do consider nuclear as a cheap, sustainable, environmentally friendly, and safe way of generating energy. So if I can give an advice, if I can be brave enough, I would say that Kazakhstan, especially putting into consideration the huge reserves you do have of uranium, you should definitely go for nuclear as well. We can take part in that project, as the first nuclear engineers and experts of Kazakhstan will arrive to Hungary later this year for training and education purposes, based on an agreement we have signed earlier on the education and the training cooperation between Kazakhstan and Hungary. On the other hand, we are participating in the green transition of your city called Taraz, since the Hungarian company is building solar parks there, delivering electric buses, and we also hope that this project will be extended nationwide. And last but not least, the Hungarian state-owned electricity company does have a patent which is unique and successful all over the world, which is a cooling system of power stations, and a cooling system which is dry, so it does not need water. And already 3 power stations in Kazakhstan have been utilizing this dry cooling system, and we hope that it's going to be further extended. So these 5 points show very clearly that the field of energy made us extremely successful this year, and this is the most successful year ever, putting into consideration the history of our bilateral economic cooperation.
We can also say that the partnership is very diversified in terms of
absolutely, you see everything
in energy sector,
involved,
yes, in particular. The full version of the interview with Petr Sijarto you can watch on our YouTube channel. Use the QR code that you see on your screens and enjoy the interview right now. Astana, meanwhile, welcomes dear and close friends. Today, the 10th summit of the Organization of Turkic States under the chairmanship of President Tokayev has started its work. The leaders of the member states gathered in the Dome Hall of the presidential residency Akorda. Among those who came to take part in the work of the summit are the presidents of Uzbekistan, Azerbaijan, Kyrgyzstan and Turkey, as well as the leaders of observer countries Hungary and Turkmenistan. As a result of the summit, summit, President signed 12 cooperation documents. Our reporter Dauren Isagulov is ready to tell us what exactly the leaders agreed on and what other loud statements were made.
Since the organization of Turkic state is only strengthening its position on the global stage, the statement corresponds to its level. Kazakhstan will spend $1 million in humanitarian aid to Palestine. According to President Tokayev, solving problems through violence and terrorist acts is absolutely unacceptable. Kazakhstan strongly condemns such methods. He said it is important to implement UN Security Council resolutions and comply with international law.
Қазір айналамызда күрделі ахуал қалыптасып отыр. Солтүстікте
The conflict continues between Russia and Ukraine in the north, between Israel and Palestine in the Middle East. Instability continues in Afghanistan. The problem of illegal immigration is getting worse in the west. Today, civilians in the Gaza Strip, especially children and the elderly, are becoming victims of the confrontation. The main task is to ensure their safety. In this regard, I have decided to provide humanitarian assistance to the Palestinian people in the amount of $1 million. This statement is an integral part of the new motto under which Kazakhstan will hold a chairmanship in the Organization of Turkic States, Turktime. This is an abbreviation that stands for traditions, unifications, reforms, knowledge, trust, investments, mediation, and energy. Let's talk about unification, for example. As part of this priority, Kazakhstan proposed to systematize standards and technology to OTS members. Head of state insists that this initiative paves the way for the free export of our goods to the global market. Uniform standards will ensure annual GDP growth of approximately 1%.
қазір елдеріміздің ішкі жалпы өнімі
Now, the gross domestic product of our countries is almost $1.4 trillion. This year, trade turnover between members of the organization exceeded $22 billion. This figure can be increased by 1.5 times if general requirements are approved. In total, 12 documents were signed under Turktime concept. Some of them include cooperation in the field of education. It is proposed to create branches of the best universities in the world in the countries of OTS, to create the new roadmap for the Organization of Turkic States. President Tokayev thanks the leaders of OTS for supporting the decision to assign Astana the status of the financial center of the Turkic world. The presidents of Azerbaijan and Kyrgyzstan spoke about the importance of creating a joint investment fund and the transit corridors. Over the past decades, the countries have managed to build strong diplomatic and economic ties. As President Erdogan noted earlier, the world is in dire need of dialogue platforms. Dauren Isagulov, Nauruz Bazarov, New Time, Astana.
What is specific role of the Organization of Turkic States in the current geopolitical environment and how it will define the integrative processes in Central Asia, the vital part of the Turkic world? My colleague, director of the Eurasia Monitoring Analytical Research Center, Alibek Tajibbayev, is ready to comment on. Alibek, good evening. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Ainur. I'm ready to share my top 3 news topics on Central Asia just in a moment. The Cooperation Council of Turkic-speaking states, created on the initiative of Kazakhstan, has become a full-fledged international organization. The Kazakh President Kassym-Jomart Tokayev said in his opening remarks at the 10th anniversary summit of the Organization of Turkic States in Astana. President Tokayev noted that a lot of work has already been done and praised concrete achievements of the organization. He said that the document entitled Prospects of the Turkic World 2040 was approved. Turkic-speaking countries strengthened the unity of fraternal countries and demonstrated to the world our commitment to our shared values. We fulfilled the will of our ancestors and strengthened cooperation between the Turkic people, said our president. Kassym-Jomart Tokayev emphasized that the present-day goals is to preserve unity based on mutual trust and brotherhood and pass it to the future generations. Turkic world interacts on equal terms with global powers, said Tokayev, adding that other countries today consider the key guidelines of the Organization of Turkic States. Our president said that expanding interaction between the Turkic states is a common task of all of us. The importance of the cooperation and the partnership of Turkic-speaking states for the region is our decisive importance in the modern dynamically changing world. The fact that Kazakhstan has become the initiator of integration processes within the Turkic world shows the increasing role of our country in the world political arena. No one can be viewed in total isolation of its predecessors. So our fraternal cultural roots allow us to hope for a high degree of mutual understanding within the organization. I am confident that citizens of all participating countries will look forward to further development of economic, infrastructural and industrial cooperation. Kassym-Jomart Tokayev held a meeting with the President of Turkey, Recep Tayyip Erdogan, and arrived to Astana to participate in the 10th anniversary summit of the Organization of the Turkic States. The head of our state, noting the significance of the visit of the Turkish president to Kazakhstan, expressed confidence that today's meeting would give a new impetus to strengthening multifaceted relations between the countries and the development of the Turkic world. He thanked the Turkish leader for his important initiatives put forward during the summit. During the conversation, the heads of states discussed the state and prospects of the development of the Kazakh-Turkish strategic partnership. Particular attention was paid to strengthening political dialogue, deepening cooperation in trade and economic investment, energy, transport and logistics, agrarian, cultural and humanitarian spheres. The presidents noted that all conditions have been created to bring the comprehensive cooperation between Kazakhstan and Turkey to a new level. Kazakhstan and Turkmenistan aim to strengthen strategic partnership. Deputy Prime Minister of Foreign Affairs of the Republic of Kazakhstan, Murat Nurtlev, paid an official visit to Ashgabat as the invitation of Deputy Chairman of the Cabinet of Ministers, Minister of Foreign Affairs of Turkmenistan, Rashid Miredov. During the talks, the Foreign Minister of Kazakhstan and Turkmenistan discussed topical aspects of bilateral cooperation in priority areas of political, trade, economic, cultural, and humanitarian cooperation. The sides emphasized mutual commitment to further deepening of strategic partnership in the spirit of friendship, brotherhood, mutual respect, and the good neighborliness. That's it from my part for today. Aynur, giving floor back to you.
Thanks. That was Alibek Tuzhabayev from Eurasia Monitoring Analytical Research Center with his review of the most important news topics on Central Asia. Let us move on. The process of transferring Kazakh assets of ArcelorMittal company in favor of Kazakhstan has reached the home stretch. According to Ministry of Industry and Construction, all the main legal papers for completing the transaction will be ready by the end of November. The tragedy at the Kostenka mine in Karaganda, owned by ArcelorMittal, took the lives of 46 people last Saturday. According to the preliminary version, a methane explosion occurred. The cause is believed to have been a gas methane explosion. Kassym-Jomart Tokayev ordered to stop investment cooperation with AMT. The enterprise was founded 28 years ago. Over this time, about 30 accidents have been registered. 193 people died. The latest incident at the Kostenka mine became the deadliest in the entire history of the enterprise. The history of the coal industry of independent Kazakhstan is truly a series of terrible tragedies and heated discussions in society. What is international experience in solving this problem? How to break the deadly cycle of mining incidents? We asked the chairman of the UN group of experts on coal mine methane, Raymond Pilcher.
Australia operates in mines huge amounts of coal with very few accidents. And when there is a dangerous accident that takes place, there's a investigation, obviously, by the enforcement authorities, the mine safety enforcement authorities. But there's also a real and tangible cooperation and actually contribution by the mining company itself. So the mining companies, actually see this as a really important and social contract that they have with their workers and with the community. And unless that is actually realized, that contract is actually realized in tangible ways, then you never break this cycle. That isn't always aligned with higher productivity. That means that you're really taking things apart and putting them back together in a way that allows people to work safely, and then eventually meeting your production goals, not because you're skipping important aspects of safety, but actually because you're doing such a good job with safety, you have smooth operations.
The deadly incident at the Kostenka mine in Karaganda became the focus of the international media coverage on Kazakhstan this week, as well as the agenda of the official Astana that has been hosted high-level guests earlier this week. My colleagues from international news agency Kazinform gathered key articles in a review of foreign media coverage. Financial Times published an article on October 30, reporting that ArcelorMittal has agreed to transfer ownership of its operations in Kazakhstan to the Kazakh government after a series of tragic incidents in recent years, including a devastating underground coal mine fire on October 28 that killed 46 miners. The world's second largest steelmaker said it has been in talks with the government over the future of its subsidiary, ArcelorMittal Temirtau, for several months, and had only recently signed a preliminary agreement to transfer ownership to the state. The company's operations in Kazakhstan span iron ore and coal mines as well as steel plant, writes Financial Times. Bloomberg, meanwhile, published an article on November 1st about the deal signed between Kazakhstan and France during French President Emmanuel Macron's visit to Astana. TotalEnergies SE signed a deal to help develop a wind farm in Kazakhstan, and Alstom SA reached one on potentially manufacturing electric trains as President Emmanuel Macron concluded a visit to the nation before heading to neighboring Uzbekistan on Thursday, writes Bloomberg. BBC published an article on November 1st delving into the visit of Emmanuel Macron to Kazakhstan. BBC writes the visit highlights the region's increasing importance to Europe's supply of nuclear and fossil fuels. The trip is partly an attempt to drum up business and foster links with Kazakhstan and Uzbekistan, writes BBC. The Guardian also published an article on covering French president visit to Kazakhstan. At a meeting with Kazakhstan's President Kassym-Jomart Tokayev, Macron complimented the country for refusing to side with Moscow on Ukraine and announced business deals, including a declaration of intent for a partnership in the much-sought area of rare earths and rare metals, write The Guardian. That's it for the press review this week. We will continue following the most interesting and important media coverage on Kazakhstan in this region. Everything that really matters in regards of Kazakhstan and Central Asia we cover here at the New Time program every Friday. This is how we saw this week in Kazakhstan. More news and special projects about our country you can watch on Silkway TV channel. Stay tuned and see you later.